Morning. I'm going to go through a bit of a serious topic, but it's just something I've been thinking about. Obviously, I always think. I was letting out through my mouth what's on my mind all the time. Maybe I shouldn't. But anyway, I want to talk about families and about how you've experienced Christmas. Now, I think I've been quite lucky in the fact that I spent my Christmas alone. Lucky? Yeah. I spent Christmases with families before and I've never enjoyed it. I think it's because I've never really had a family that they depict on the telly, in these films that are all about getting together and being happy and giving lots of gifts that are really expensive or very, very cheap. And the idea behind that gift is really, really about love. But the films try to depict it as this wonderful event where we all learn lessons from each other through the goodness of our hearts, and nothing ever goes really badly wrong. And I've been trying to watch those films this year. In previous years, I've just watched a ton of them all day, every day, and vegged out. And this year, I kept watching the very beginning of a film and then thinking, oh, this is boring, or this is pathetically acted, or it's a stupid story, or I just couldn't get into them. So I gave up after the first 5-10 minutes or so. Anyway, this year I just started to use the time to think again. I'm always thinking, I know. Maybe I overthink things. But in my overthinking, I usually come to a conclusion. And I've come to some conclusions, and I'm hoping that this will help you. If it doesn't, don't worry about it. If it does, then yay, great. So, think of it in a spiritual way. Think of it as, I don't know, before you're even conceived, you're a soul. Well, you are a soul now, but you're a soul that's occupying a body that's trying to live this life, and it's a vehicle for you to go throughout life in. And you can imagine that because your consciousness, your thoughts don't come from goo and blood and guts and water inside your head. They come from out here somewhere. And this voice of mine is just coming out of this body that my consciousness, my spirit, so to speak, is occupying in this body. Sometimes I can't come to terms with that. I can't understand it. I can't comprehend it. I can't see how it all works, because when you look at your body, even though some of us don't really look after it, I mean, I need to work at exercising a bit more. It's there, it functions, it works for you if you don't work against it. It's the wrong foods, wrong fluids, wrong attitudes. We've all heard about the emotions and how your words can make your body act chemically in a certain way and then disturb the rest of the balance inside of you. So emotions play a big part in the way your body satisfies your soul, basically, or works or functions. Some people have really debilitating illnesses, and I can't say in all truth that those illnesses are brought about through emotions. But if you try to look at it from a soul point of view, then maybe this video will help you understand the way I'm thinking about it. If you took it from the point of view that you're a soul waiting to be put inside a body, and you're waiting for that conception, so you're waiting for people to play naughties together in order to have a body to occupy. And while you're waiting in line for that to happen, you're in amongst a group of people that are, or the group of souls, angels, or whatever you like to call them, and you're deciding what type of family you want to be born into. Now that family can give you a rest, or it can give you a challenge. You're waiting in line for this body to occupy, and you're not randomly picking a body. It's like being a brain surgeon. You have to be precise. You're looking at a family and thinking, right, I want to be this type of person. I want to learn patience. I want to learn courage. So what you do is you pick a family that will bring out those qualities in you. And that doesn't mean that you can have an easy life doing it, because courage only comes from the battles that you have in life, the ones that you survive. And you think, okay, I learned this from that, so I'll do it again and I'll be able to manage it. So courage comes from challenges. Patience comes from challenges from other people. You pick those people, those family members, in order to help you have the qualities that you really are searching for, your soul is searching for, or wanting to experience. You're waiting in line and your soul says, right, that is the kind of family I need in order to help me grow. But as you're a human being, you're sitting amongst family members, listening to them arguing, wanting to say something, or even arguing yourself. And you're thinking, why the hell was I born? Why did my mother decide to carry on and have me? Why did my father want a child? Was it just a mistake? But you're sitting there and you're wondering, you're blaming everybody else for the way they are and the way they treat you and the things that they've done to you, said to you, the way they've attacked you, emotionally and physically. And you're thinking, why was I ever born? Why am I in this family? They've got nothing in common with me. They're not like me at all. Why am I so different? And you're thinking all these things. You're thinking about your family and thinking, when I was a child, why didn't they support me? Why didn't they encourage me? Why didn't they protect me? Why did they abuse me? Why did they put me down? Why did they make me feel so awful and useless and just, why did they reject me? Why did they have these emotions of jealousy, hatred towards me? And you ask all these questions and they never seem to get answered. So you're sitting there thinking about it all the time. A way to adjust yourself, your being, your whole sense of self into being okay with that is to not look upon it as a punishment. Don't think of it as, I've been bad in my previous life, I must have been in order to deserve this. And this life within this environment is a gift. I know, there are some out there that you could think, that wasn't a gift. What about these poor kids that are born with illnesses that I'll never recover from? What about these kids who are being abused physically and they've got no chance of getting out of the situation? What about these poor little babies that are thrown against the wall, battered and killed just because they're crying because they want something? They want love, basically. Yeah, I'm going to get to that. So how do you identify whether this is a gift or not? How do you come to accept it as something that you've chosen for yourself to learn from? How do you accept that? Think of a fire. It can help or it can harm. It can burn something down, or it can create food for you, warmth. It can create objects that we really need to help us build stuff with, like forging tools, making swords, horseshoes, things like that. Or it can burn something down and destroy it. You can do both these things. When you look at your family, you can either look at them as something that is there to punish you, something that is there to make you feel so awful and degraded and abandoned. Or you can look at them and say, right, okay, how is their behaviour going to change me? What am I going to learn from it? What do I have to learn? Throughout the ages, we've all been thinking about all this otherworldly stuff like witches and demons and wizards and stuff like that, angels and ghosts. And we've all been influenced by them. So even, you can have a blessing and they're really lovely. It makes you feel so good. But on the other hand, you've also got curses. Now, there are such things as generational curses, things that are hanging around from a family member hundreds of years ago. Now, in the Bible, it does say that curses on a family member will follow, I think it's 7 generations. So you could go back 7 generations and say, damn it, why did you do that? Is that why I'm living this life? Because of you? The good thing is that you've got the ability to break that curse. If you recognise it and become aware of it, you can accept the blessing, but you can reject the curse. And there are ways of rejecting that curse. You kind of think, okay, why can't I have a normal life? Like a life in the movies. Lives in the movies, they're not true. They're stories created by people like me. I've worked in the media. I've worked in the film industry. I've worked in the, you could say 2 things, the news environment, which is promoting or supposed to be promoting the truth. And I've worked in the film industry, which is promoting a story. It might be in a horror story, it might be in a fairy tale. So go back to this question of why on earth, if I was a soul, why would I choose this environment to learn my lessons in? It's horrible. Why would I choose these people to surround me? You think of that ancestor who did this wrong to the village, and that ancestor got the curse put on them. Okay, well, throughout their children's lives and their grandchildren's lives and their great-grandchildren's lives, people have secrets. People have things that they don't want to tell other people. And they certainly don't want to tell their children. So they hide things from them. Or things are not said that should be said. Things are not taught that should be taught. Because people don't know how to communicate. Even I don't sometimes. I say the wrong things. You could say, for instance, I tackled a vicar the other day. And I know I shouldn't have done. But I just couldn't stop myself. And I know as I was saying it, I was thinking, shut up, Kay. Stop it. What it was, I couldn't see a cross anywhere in the church. So I confronted the vicar about it. Because I said, oh, where's Jesus in this church? And he pointed towards this massive painting of Mary and her baby, which is Christmas time, so it's logical that that would be so. But there was no cross anywhere, and I couldn't see it anyway. He did eventually point to one in the wall that had been carved as a hole in the wall. And I thought, well, that's not the cross on the altar, which is supposed to be in an Anglican Christian church. Don't necessarily have to have Jesus crucified on it. But you do need to have that cross there because that's a symbol of Christianity, that and the fish as well. It's by that cross that we are saved. It's the death, burial and resurrection that we are saved. But there was nothing to depict that anywhere in that church. And I had to say something. So that was being a Karen. He didn't like me very much for it. Opinionated bloody women. I could see it written all over his face. But anyway, let's carry on with this. So you see all these family members around you and you think, okay, do I let them carry on or do I say something about it? Do I hide what I'm actually feeling or do I confront it? Do I verbalise what is going on inside me? My opinions, my views, my thoughts about what this person is saying and doing? Or do I hide it? Do I not say anything? Do I not bother? And you start to observe their behaviour. You start to look at what they're doing, the way they're communicating with everybody else, your family members that you're born into, this environment you really don't like. And you look at them and you start thinking, do people think that I'm like that? And you start to see how different these people are from you. I'm not saying that I'm different in any way. It just feels like you're being isolated. You're being pushed aside because you don't fit in, basically. I'm not saying it's a privilege being different. Sometimes it can be a curse, and that's the curse that you need to break. And you only break it by looking at the family members and not judging them, but accepting them. Accepting their behaviour and not letting yourself rise to the bait. Learning to forgive for want of a better phrase, the demons inside of them. And it's not as if you don't have the demons either, because they attack us all. All these demons of jealousy, hatred, anger, anxiety, depression. They're all demons of the soul. They all grab hold of you, take hold of your life and make you do things you don't want to do. But it's up to you to stop it. It's up to you to recognise it, become aware of it, and think, okay, this isn't doing anybody any good. I've got to find another way around it. And that's difficult. That's the challenge. Even I don't get it right, as with the vicar. Think about when you're at school. I liked books and I liked reading. I liked entering all these different worlds. And I liked learning. I liked the teachers telling me things about new fantastical worlds that I never even thought about. And that interested me. But most kids, they don't engage with that. They don't want to learn. They look at it and they think, what's the point in going here? I've got to get up early in the morning. I just want to stay in bed. I want to watch the telly. I want to play with my Game Boy or whatever it is they're playing with now. And they don't want to go into a classroom environment, especially boys. It's not built for them. They want to get out and be active. They don't want to sit in a classroom all day and be spoken to or at. They want to engage with their hands and they want to do things. Girls, yeah, they like to do things like bake and cook, and maybe I'm typecasting, but that's basically what they tend to fall into. You leave two children on the floor playing with toys and give them a variety and just stick all those toys together. You normally find that boys end up with the guns and the tanks. The girls end up with the fluffy toys and start feeding them with the tea set. And that's true, basically. It doesn't matter really, but that gives you an idea of how people are grown, how people become perceptive to things around them and become aware of family situations and how they can help or hinder. Okay, when you were a kid, again, we're going to focus on the children again. When you learned to swim, did you get a dad or a mum who, basically dads really, aren't they, that chuck you in the pool and say, right, go and learn, sink or swim? Or did you go to a class and get in very gradually, feel the water around you, and then learn to float, and then learn to swim without the floats, and then learn to dive? Did you do it gradually, or did you just get chucked in? And with a family, you're just chucked in, aren't you? But when you're becoming aware, that's when you're learning to swim. You're not being, you're chucked into that environment, but you pick up the pieces by learning how to do things. Being chucked in is like you're suffering all the time. You're going through all the pain, and everything's taking control of you, all the things around you. Life, basically, the father, the water around you, it's all controlling what you're thinking. You're panicking inside, your emotions are taking over. So if you think about that dad that chucked you into the water, what do you see about him? I'm talking metaphorically here, not just chucking you into the water, but chucking you into a life that you don't really want. What do you think of that father? What do you think of that mother who just dragged you up, basically, didn't really teach you anything, just threw you into life and let you swim for yourself? Or you can have these nurturing parents who pay attention to everything you're doing, mollycoddling you, basically. And then you can have the decent parents, and you don't even really recognise that they're decent because you find fault in everything that you're doing or what they're doing and saying anyway. These other people that you've been born into, they've all got their own emotions. They've all got their life experiences. And we don't tend to think of our mum and dad as being children themselves. We don't tend to think of them as people who've had lives before we were even born. We don't tend to think of what's going on inside their head, how they've experienced life, what anxieties and anger or regrets and sadness that they've got inside of them. We don't think of that. We just think of our own emotional needs. Why is this happening to me? And if you see those qualities in those parents that you have and siblings that you've got, do you recognise it in yourself? Do you feel that pain, that anger, that regret? Do you feel those actions, behaviours, emotions inside of you? Things that they are demonstrating to you. Do you feel it inside you? When you see it inside somebody else that's close to you, what we tend to do is want to rebel against it. I think, I'm not going to do that for my kids. I'm going to do the complete opposite. And what's the opposite? It's the mirror image, isn't it? It's the reflection of them, teaching you to do something different. All those qualities in those people are deep within you. Remember I talked to you about the water and how those emotions can be affected. Vibrations can affect you. And we are electricity and water. That's what we're built from, or dust from the earth anyway. Well, men are dust from the earth. We're not. We're from flesh, blood and bone. The man's bone, the rib. Or maybe it's a part of DNA ladder. Maybe that's the rib they were talking about. I don't know. So when you look at their qualities and you reflect back what they are doing, you think, right, I'm going to do complete opposite. You're looking at them and you're observing them, you're becoming aware of their qualities. And that's the gift that we miss. That's the little present. The quality in us is the gift of becoming aware and acting on that awareness by being something different. And when you become aware, what happens is that you either rebel and become more angry because of it, more depressed because you think, I can't do anything about this, and wallow in your own self-pity, or you sit on regrets and you think, why couldn't it have been another way? Or, again, the opposite, you start to think, I can break this curse on this family. I can say, I'm not going to be like that. I can expose my anger. I can expose the way I'm feeling inside of me to myself. I don't need to tell anybody else. And just sit with that and think, where is that coming from? Do I really want to be like this? Or do I want to be different? That's what becoming aware is about. That's what forgiveness is all about. You don't have to go up to the person and say, I forgive you, because that's a bit pompous, isn't it? Because that makes that you out to be right and them wrong. And they're not going to accept that. So all you have to do is forgive them from your heart and think forgiveness is not about them. It's about me being able to let go of that. It's not easy. It's hard. It's hard work facing the challenges that you've got inside yourself. It's hard to acknowledge that you've got faults. It's hard to say, I am wrong. I am sorry. It's hard to say those things because you're saying to yourself, I failed. And people are going to think me an idiot. People are going to think I'm a horrible person. And that's where those qualities of courage and resilience build up the strength inside of you. They're qualities that don't come easy. You don't get courage being able to stand up in front of somebody and saying no. Simplest word on this good earth of ours, but it's so hard to say because you want to please, don't you? Don't want to offend. Don't want people to think you're a nasty piece of work. Yeah, because when you say no to someone, you can feel the tremor in your heart, can't you? You can feel it inside your gut. They're going to reject me. They're going to abandon me. They're not going to like me. But saying no is being honest with yourself and being honest with them. That's the courage. That's where that resilience comes from. That's how your strength is built. Yeah, and if you look upon the quality of anger, why do you get angry? You get angry because somebody's doing something you don't want them to do. You don't want them to say. You don't want to make you feel really awful, do you? You don't want that. You just want to get on with your life and make yourself feel good. So instead of anger, which is, you're doing me wrong, so I'm rebelling against that, hold it for a second or two, breathe, and then instead go towards compassion. See, it's hard, isn't it? It's hard to stop yourself. But that is the quality of a good human being. Being able to stop and think rather than react and act. And by doing that, you're breaking the curse. You're not acting in the way that your emotions are encouraging you to do. It's just my thoughts about the way of the world and the way we need to learn things, the way we need to change things. And if we don't want to go into another war, this is what we've got to do. This is what the whole world has got to learn to do. And it's hard. It's harder to put the mirror up to your own face, looking at you, yourself, your own emotions, your own behaviours. It's hard to do that rather than just blame everybody else. It's easier to say, she did this, she did that. You can't change them. Nothing you say will change their behaviour. Only if you behave differently is the way they change. You can only change yourself. So, I know, if you're born into, say, for instance, a family that is abusive and not very kind towards you, if you look upon their behaviour with compassion, which is very, very difficult, instead of anger, instead of getting angry and fighting back, you instead step back, look at them and say, how can I help? It's going to be hard because some people don't listen. Because in every experience that they give you, if it's bad behaviour, bad reactions, then that all comes from their own pain. This past that we don't even know about, haven't even thought about. The things that they've gone through and learned to protect themselves against. It's not working, is it? Nothing's working. You can see that in the behaviour that they give you. So you've got to think, okay, it's got to stop somewhere. Why doesn't it just stop with me? So compassion is being able to see behind the present behaviour. Yeah, and it's hard work. People basically can't give love because they don't know how to love. They don't know what love is. So if they don't know what love is, how are they supposed to be loving towards another individual if they can't love themselves? If they hate themselves? Because that's inside the core of them, is that they don't like themselves. They don't like who they are, so they're hiding it. And that's where all the anger and the hurt and the pain comes from. Acting all the time, being this other person. People all over the world are just reacting all the time, trying to protect themselves, trying to live life in the best way possible so that they don't get hurt. And in the end, they're only hurting themselves and other people. It's a vicious circle, isn't it? It has to stop somewhere. So that's the ability to stand back, breathe and look and become aware. Try not to think of their anger or, their lack of love. So instead of saying, why don't they love me? Ask instead about yourself. What can I learn from this? What is this behaviour teaching me? Think of their behaviours as all the things that you're doing in life, all these thoughts, they're weighing you down. It's like a backpack that's too heavy on a walk. You're going on this journey and everything is packed into this backpack. You're thinking, I can't handle this. My shoulders are aching. My knees are hurting. I'm just going, it's too heavy. This burden is too heavy. I've got to get rid of some of this stuff in my backpack. And yet you keep thinking, I don't want to lose any of it because I need it. But trust me, there are things in that backpack you don't need. So you always pack in more than you need. A simple way of looking upon the burdens that you're carrying in life is to look in your backpack. Have a look at what you don't need. Take it out, put it aside. Share it with other people that are on the walk with you, or hide it in a little place on the path so you can come collect it later if you want to. So think of that as something that you think your family are to you. You think that they're a burden. There are too many people in this backpack that I'm carrying. Instead of thinking them as a pain in the arse, basically, think of them as a gift for you to grow. Think of them as teaching you qualities that you can become a better person from.